Power of Silence, written and published by Ngasline. In a world dominated by constant noise and endless chatter, silence speaks a language of its own, a language that transcends words and reaches depths that verbal communication cannot touch. This hidden language of silence exists all around us, yet few truly understand its profound power and significance in our lives. Silence is not merely the absence of sound. It is a living, breathing entity that carries messages, emotions, and understanding far beyond what words can convey. Think of those moments when you've shared a meaningful glance with someone you love. No words were needed, yet volumes were spoken. Or consider the profound connection felt while watching a sunset in complete stillness, where nature communicates its grandeur without uttering a single sound. The distinction between empty silence and meaningful silence is crucial to understanding this hidden language. Empty silence is awkward, uncomfortable, and stems from disconnection or fear. It's the heavy silence that falls when we're at a loss for words or trying to avoid confrontation. Meaningful silence, on the other hand, is rich with presence, understanding, and depth. It's the comfortable quiet shared between old friends, the peaceful stillness of early morning, or the profound moment of clarity when we finally listen to our inner voice. This hidden language exists as the fundamental fabric of the universe itself. Before there were words, before there was sound, there was silence. It remains the canvas upon which all creation takes place. Scientists tell us that the vast expanse of space is silent, yet it's within this cosmic quiet that galaxies dance, stars are born, and the mysteries of existence unfold. This same creative silence operates within our own lives, offering a direct connection to the universal intelligence that orchestrates everything from the blooming of a flower to the beating of our hearts. When we begin to tune into this language of silence, we discover that it communicates through feeling, through intuition, and through the subtle whispers of our consciousness. It speaks in the spaces between our thoughts, in the pause between our breaths, and in those rare moments when we allow ourselves to simply be. This communication doesn't require interpretation or analysis. It's direct, immediate, and profound. The language of silence also reveals itself in human relationships. In the most intimate connections, silence becomes a bridge rather than a barrier. Two people in love can sit together without speaking, yet experience the deepest form of communication. A mother understands her baby's needs without words, reading the subtle language of presence and energy. Even in professional settings, those who master the art of comfortable silence often command more respect and attention than those who fill every moment with speech. Learning to speak and understand this hidden language requires a shift in our awareness. We must first acknowledge that communication extends far beyond verbal expression. This means developing our capacity to listen, not just with our ears, but with our entire being. It means becoming comfortable with pauses, with stillness, and with the profound messages that emerge when we stop filling every moment with noise. The practice of engaging with silence's hidden language begins with simple awareness. Notice the quality of silence in different situations. The silence of early morning differs from the silence of midnight. The silence in nature differs from the silence in a sacred space. Each carries its own message, its own frequency, its own invitation to deeper understanding. As we develop our fluency in this language, we begin to notice that silence is never truly empty. It's filled with presence, with potential, and with the very essence of life itself. This understanding transforms our relationship with quiet moments, turning them from something to be filled or avoided into opportunities for profound connection and communication. The hidden language of silence serves as a gateway to deeper wisdom, authentic connection, and profound understanding. It reminds us that some of life's most meaningful exchanges happen without words, and that in the spaces between our expressions lies a vast realm of unspoken truth waiting to be discovered. The art of being still. In our perpetually moving world, the art of being still remains one of life's most profound yet underappreciated skills. Stillness creates an invisible sanctuary where miracles can enter our lives effortlessly. When we learn to be still, we tap into a dimension of existence that operates beyond the constant motion and noise of everyday life. The practice of stillness begins with understanding that it's not about forcing ourselves to be motionless or completely void of thought. Instead, it's about finding that sweet spot of peaceful awareness where we're fully present yet completely at ease. In this state, our nervous system naturally calms down, our breathing deepens, and our mind gradually settles like snow in a snow globe. Many people resist stillness because they've been conditioned to believe that constant activity equals productivity. However, the opposite is often true. When we allow ourselves to be still, we access deeper reserves of creativity, clarity, and insight that remain hidden during periods of constant motion. Think of stillness as the pause between musical notes that gives the melody its beauty and meaning. To embrace stillness, start by creating small pockets of quiet time in your daily routine. This might mean waking up 15 minutes earlier to sit in silence before the day begins, or finding a peaceful spot during your lunch break where you can simply be. The key is not to judge the experience or expect immediate results. Like a shy animal, stillness approaches more readily when we don't chase it. One powerful exercise for cultivating stillness involves sitting comfortably and focusing on your breath. As you breathe naturally, imagine each inhale bringing in peaceful energy and each exhale releasing any tension or resistance. Don't try to control your thoughts. Simply observe them passing by like clouds in the sky. Over time, you'll notice the spaces between thoughts growing longer and more peaceful. Another practice involves what we might call micro moments of stillness. Throughout your day, pause briefly between activities. Before starting your car, take 3 conscious breaths. Before entering a meeting, stand quietly for a moment. Before responding to a challenging situation, allow yourself a brief pause. These small moments of stillness can profoundly impact your entire day. Physical stillness often leads to mental stillness, but the reverse is also true. When your mind becomes still, your body naturally follows. This is why activities like gardening, painting, or watching a sunset can induce a state of peaceful stillness. They naturally quiet the mental chatter that keeps us from experiencing deeper states of being. The beauty of stillness lies in its accessibility. Unlike many spiritual practices that require specific conditions or extensive training, stillness is always available to us. It's our natural state, hidden beneath layers of societal conditioning and personal habits. By regularly practicing stillness, we're not learning something new, but rather remembering something we've always known. As you develop your relationship with stillness, you'll discover it has its own rhythm and timing. Some days, stillness will come easily. Other days, it might feel more elusive. Accept these variations with grace, knowing that even the attempt to be still is beneficial. The mere intention to cultivate stillness begins to create space for miracles in your life. Through consistent practice, you'll find that stillness becomes more than just a temporary state. It becomes a way of being. You'll carry its essence with you throughout your daily activities, maintaining an inner calm even amid external chaos. This is when the true power of stillness reveals itself, as life begins to flow more effortlessly and synchronicities become more frequent. Stillness is not the absence of movement, but the presence of awareness. It's a living, breathing quality that nourishes every aspect of our being. By mastering the art of being still, we open ourselves to receiving the countless gifts that life is constantly offering us. The flow state of silence. In the depths of silence lies a profound truth. The quieter we become, the more effortlessly life flows through us. This natural state of flow isn't something we need to create or force. Rather, it emerges spontaneously when we learn to step back from the constant noise and mental chatter that typically fills our days. Think of a river flowing downstream. It doesn't struggle or strain. It simply follows its natural course, moving around obstacles with grace and ease. This is the same way life wants to move through us. When we're caught up in mental noise, we're like rocks in that river, creating resistance and turbulence. But when we embrace silence, we become the water itself, fluid, adaptable, and in perfect harmony with the natural flow of life. The flow state of silence isn't about becoming passive or inactive. Instead, it's about aligning ourselves with the natural rhythm of life. This alignment happens naturally when we stop resisting what is and allow ourselves to be guided by the intelligence that emerges in quietude. In these moments of deep silence, we often discover that the solutions we've been seeking have been present all along, waiting patiently for us to notice them. Breaking free from resistance through silence requires a fundamental shift in how we approach life's challenges. Often, we believe that more effort, more thinking, and more doing will lead to better results. Yet, paradoxically, it's often in moments of complete stillness that we find our most elegant solutions and experience our greatest breakthroughs. This is because silence allows us to step out of our habitual patterns of thought and behavior, creating space for new possibilities to emerge. Finding your natural rhythm is an essential aspect of embracing the flow state of silence. Each person has their own unique frequency, their own natural way of being in the world. When we're constantly bombarded by external noise and internal chatter, we lose touch with this innate rhythm. Through silence, we can rediscover it. This might mean starting your day with a few moments of quiet contemplation, taking regular breaks throughout the day to reset in silence, or creating dedicated periods for silent reflection. The practice of entering the flow state through silence isn't about forcing yourself to be quiet. Rather, it's about creating the conditions that allow silence to naturally arise. This might begin with simply noticing the spaces between thoughts, the moments of natural quiet that already exist in your life. As you become more attuned to these moments, you'll find they naturally expand and deepen. When we're in this flow state, we often notice that synchronicities and coincidences become more frequent. The right opportunities seem to present themselves at exactly the right time, and we find ourselves making decisions with greater ease and clarity. This isn't magic. It's simply what happens when we remove the mental static that usually clouds our perception and interferes with our natural state of flow. The flow state of silence also has a profound effect on our relationships and interactions with others. When we're operating from this place of inner quiet, we become better listeners, more intuitive communicators, and more authentic in our connections. We're less reactive and more responsive, able to engage with others from a place of genuine presence rather than automatic patterns. Learning to access this flow state takes practice and patience. Some days, the mind will be more active than others, and that's perfectly normal. The key is not to fight against mental activity, but to simply observe it with gentle awareness. Over time, you'll develop a deeper appreciation for the power of silence and its ability to guide you into states of effortless flow. As you continue to explore this relationship between silence and flow, you'll discover that life becomes less of a struggle and more of a dance. The quieter you become, the more you'll notice that everything you need is already present, waiting to be revealed in the silence of your own heart. Clearing the mental clutter. In our hyper-connected world, our minds have become like overstuffed closets, filled with endless thoughts, worries, and distractions. This mental clutter creates a constant noise that drowns out our true potential and blocks the natural flow of life. Just as a cluttered room makes it difficult to find what we need, a cluttered mind obscures our path to clarity and purpose. Mental decluttering begins with acknowledging that most of our thoughts are unnecessary repetitions, borrowed opinions, and recycled worries. These thoughts accumulate like dust, coating our consciousness with layers of mental residue that dim our natural brilliance. The process of clearing this clutter isn't about forcing thoughts away or struggling against them. Instead, it's about creating space, allowing thoughts to pass through without attaching to them. One powerful approach to mental decluttering is the practice of thought observation. Like sitting by a flowing river, watch your thoughts pass by without trying to grab them or push them away. This simple act of witnessing creates distance between you and your thoughts, revealing that you are not your thoughts, but the awareness behind them. As this awareness grows, the grip of mental clutter naturally begins to loosen. Throughout the day, our minds collect countless impressions, opinions, and reactions. Many of these are like empty calories. They provide no real nourishment for our growth or well-being. By consciously choosing which thoughts deserve our attention, we begin to curate our mental space more deliberately. This doesn't mean suppressing thoughts or emotions, but rather becoming more discerning about what we allow to occupy our mental real estate. The emptying of the mind creates room for new possibilities to emerge. Think of it like preparing a garden. Before planting new seeds, we must first clear the weeds and prepare the soil. Similarly, clearing mental clutter creates fertile ground for fresh insights, innovative ideas, and authentic expressions of our true nature. This empty space becomes a magnetic field that attracts opportunities and solutions we couldn't see when our minds were overcrowded. Physical decluttering often aids mental decluttering. As you simplify your external environment, you'll notice a corresponding lightness in your mental space. Start with your immediate surroundings. Clear your desk, organize your digital files, or clean out a drawer. These simple actions create ripples of clarity that extend into your mental landscape. The practice of regular brain dumps can be tremendously helpful. Take time each day to write down everything that's occupying your mind: tasks, worries, ideas, and random thoughts. This transfer of mental content onto paper creates immediate relief, like emptying an overflowing container. Once externalized, these thoughts can be sorted, addressed, or simply released. Technology, while useful, often contributes significantly to mental clutter. Implementing digital boundaries, designated times for checking emails, social media breaks, and device-free periods, creates pockets of mental space throughout your day. These moments of digital silence allow your mind to naturally settle and clear itself. Mental decluttering is not a one-time event, but an ongoing practice. Like tending a garden, it requires regular attention and care. As you consistently create space in your mind, you'll discover that solutions, insights, and opportunities naturally flow into this newly created vacancy. Your actions become more efficient, your decisions clearer, and your creative expression more authentic. The ultimate goal of mental decluttering isn't to achieve a permanently empty mind, but to maintain enough clear space for life to flow through you effortlessly. When your mind isn't congested with unnecessary thoughts, you become more responsive to the present moment, more aligned with your true purpose, and more available to the abundance that life constantly offers. In this space of mental clarity, destiny unfolds naturally, and possibilities that were previously hidden behind the veil of mental clutter begin to reveal themselves. The wisdom within. In the depths of silence lies an infinite well of wisdom waiting to be discovered. This ancient truth has been known by sages and mystics throughout history, yet in our modern world, we often overlook this profound source of guidance that resides within us. When we learn to access this inner wisdom through silence, we tap into a limitless reservoir of knowledge that transcends intellectual understanding. The wisdom within speaks to us constantly, but its voice is subtle and easily drowned out by the cacophony of daily life. It communicates through gentle nudges, quiet impressions, and those inexplicable knowing feelings that arise when we create space for stillness. This inner guidance system is our direct connection to universal intelligence, and it becomes increasingly clear and reliable as we cultivate our relationship with silence. Our intuition, often described as our sixth sense, flourishes in the fertile soil of silence. Unlike logical thinking, which requires active mental processing, intuitive wisdom emerges spontaneously when we allow ourselves to be still. It's like a delicate flower that only blooms when the conditions are right, in this case, when our minds are quiet enough to receive its messages. Many of life's most profound realizations come not through external learning, but through moments of silent insight. These are the aha moments when truth reveals itself with crystal clarity, without the need for analysis or debate. Such moments of revelation often arrive when we've stopped actively seeking answers and instead allowed ourselves to rest in the embrace of silence. Learning to trust this inner wisdom requires practice and patience. We've been conditioned to seek answers outside ourselves, to rely on external expertise and validation. Yet the most reliable guidance system we possess is our own inner knowing, refined through silence. This doesn't mean we should dismiss external knowledge, but rather understand that true wisdom comes from integrating both inner and outer sources of understanding. The practice of accessing inner wisdom begins with creating regular periods of silence in our daily lives. During these times, we simply observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment, allowing deeper insights to surface naturally. It's similar to waiting for muddy water to settle. When we stop stirring it up with constant activity and thought, clarity emerges on its own. Our inner wisdom often communicates through the language of feeling rather than words. A sense of expansion or lightness often accompanies truth, while contraction or heaviness might signal something that's not aligned with our highest good. As we spend more time in silence, we become more attuned to these subtle signals and learn to trust them as reliable guides for decision-making. The wisdom within also helps us navigate relationships more effectively. In silence, we can sense the underlying currents of interactions, understanding what's not being said as much as what is. This deeper awareness allows us to respond to situations with greater clarity and compassion, rather than simply reacting from conditioning or habit. One of the most powerful aspects of inner wisdom is its ability to reveal our authentic path in life. When we regularly commune with our inner silence, we naturally align with our true purpose. The noise of societal expectations and external pressures fades away, leaving us with a clear sense of what truly matters to us and what steps we need to take next. This inner guidance system also serves as a protective mechanism, warning us of potential missteps before they occur. Many people report experiencing strong intuitive feelings that help them avoid dangerous situations or make crucial decisions at pivotal moments. These instances of inner knowing become more frequent and reliable as we strengthen our connection to silence. The wisdom within is always available to us, waiting patiently for us to turn our attention inward. It doesn't require special training or external validation, only our willingness to be still and listen. As we deepen our relationship with silence, we discover that the answers we seek have been within us all along, waiting to be revealed in the quiet moments between our thoughts. The power of non-action. In our fast-paced world, we're conditioned to believe that constant action and perpetual motion are the keys to success. We rush from one task to another, always doing, always moving, always making things happen. Yet, there exists a profound paradox that the ancient Eastern philosophers understood well. Sometimes the most powerful action is no action at all. The concept of wei, often translated as non-action or effortless action, lies at the heart of this understanding. It doesn't mean sitting idle or being lazy. Rather, it suggests aligning ourselves with the natural flow of life instead of forcing our way through it. Think of a river. It doesn't struggle to flow. It simply follows its natural course, effortlessly moving around obstacles and finding the path of least resistance. When we cease our constant doing and allow ourselves to be still, something remarkable happens. The mental noise that usually clouds our judgment begins to settle, like sediment in still water. In this clarity, solutions that were previously hidden become apparent. Problems that seemed insurmountable often resolve themselves when we stop trying to force outcomes. Consider how often we've struggled with a problem, only to have the answer suddenly appear when we've stopped actively thinking about it. This isn't coincidence. It's the power of non-action at work. When we step back from our compulsive need to control and manipulate situations, we create space for natural solutions to emerge. The practice of non-action requires trust. We must trust that not everything needs our immediate intervention. We must trust that some things will resolve themselves if we allow them the space to do so. This trust doesn't come easily in a culture that values constant productivity and visible action, but it's essential for accessing the power of non-action. Through non-action, we learn to distinguish between necessary action and unnecessary interference. Much of what we do is actually counterproductive, like stirring up mud in clear water. When we stop stirring, the mud naturally settles and clarity returns. Similarly, when we cease our constant doing, life has a way of finding its natural balance. This principle extends beyond personal problem. solving into our relationships and professional lives. How often do we rush to fix things that aren't really broken? How many times do we speak when silence would serve better? By embracing non-action, we learn to recognize when our intervention is truly needed and when it's better to let things unfold naturally. The practice of non-action also reveals the difference between force and power. Force requires constant effort and often meets resistance, while power flows naturally and effortlessly. When we align ourselves with the natural flow of life through non-action, we tap into a different kind of power, one that doesn't deplete us, but rather energizes and sustains us. In our daily lives, we can practice non-action by occasionally pausing before responding to situations. Instead of immediately reacting to every stimulus, we can create space to let natural solutions emerge. This might mean waiting before sending that angry email, taking time before making an important decision, or simply observing a situation before jumping in to fix it. The power of non-action teaches us that sometimes the most effective response is no response at all. It shows us that by doing less, we can actually accomplish more. When we step back and allow life to flow naturally, we often find that everything falls into place with an ease and grace that our forced efforts could never achieve. This is the paradoxical wisdom of why, that in non-action lies the greatest power for transformation and change. Silent strength. True strength rarely announces itself with fanfare or grumpy declarations. Like a deep river that flows quietly yet carries immense power, genuine strength often manifests in silence. This chapter explores how cultivating silent strength can transform your presence and impact in the world. In our modern society, we often associate power with loud voices, bold statements, and aggressive actions. However, history's most influential figures often wielded their greatest power through measured silence and quiet conviction. Consider how Nelson Mandela's silent dignity during his imprisonment spoke volumes more than any shouted protest could have, or how Mother Teresa's quiet service touched millions without the need for grand speeches or proclamations. Silent strength begins with self-awareness and inner confidence that requires no external validation. When you're truly confident in your abilities and worth, you don't need to announce them to others. This quiet assurance naturally radiates from within, drawing others to you without effort. It's like the difference between a mountain and a volcano. While the volcano dramatically announces its presence, the mountain's quiet majesty commands respect through its mere existence. This form of strength manifests in various ways in daily life. In meetings, it's the person who listens intently rather than dominating the conversation, yet whose few well-chosen words carry significant weight. In relationships, it's the quiet support that holds space for others without trying to fix or control their experiences. In leadership, it's the ability to stand firm in one's principles without needing to defend or explain them constantly. Building silent strength requires practice and patience. It begins with developing comfort in silence itself. Start by observing your impulses to fill quiet moments with words or actions. Notice how often these impulses stem from discomfort or insecurity rather than genuine necessity. As you become more comfortable with silence, you'll find yourself naturally developing a more powerful presence. Silent strength also involves cultivating inner stability that remains unshaken by external chaos. Like a lighthouse standing firm amidst a storm, your quiet strength becomes a beacon for others navigating difficult waters. This doesn't mean becoming emotionless or detached. Rather, it means developing the ability to maintain your center while fully engaging with life's challenges and joys. Leading with quiet authority means understanding that true influence comes not from forcing your will upon others, but from embodying your principles so completely that others are naturally inspired to follow. It's the difference between pushing a boulder uphill and creating a path that others willingly choose to walk. This kind of leadership doesn't require position or title. It emerges naturally from your way of being. The practice of silent strength extends beyond personal development into how we interact with the world. It means choosing responses over reactions, understanding over argument, and presence over presentation. It's about recognizing that the most powerful actions often arise from a place of deep stillness rather than frantic activity. In relationships and communication, silent strength manifests as the ability to truly listen without immediately jumping to offer solutions or share similar experiences. It's the strength to hold space for uncomfortable emotions, both our own and others, without trying to fix or change them. This creates deeper connections and more meaningful interactions than any amount of clever conversation could achieve. As you develop silent strength, you'll notice a shift in how others respond to you. People naturally respect and trust those who embody quiet confidence. Your words carry more weight because they're chosen carefully and spoken with intention. Your presence becomes a calming force in chaotic situations, and your silence speaks volumes about your self-assurance and wisdom. Silent strength isn't about suppressing your voice or diminishing your power. Instead, it's about channeling that power more effectively, like a laser beam compared to scattered light. It's about understanding that true strength, like true wisdom, often manifests most powerfully in whispers rather than shouts. Dissolving resistance. In the depths of silence lies a profound secret. Resistance naturally dissolves when we embrace quietness. Our modern world teaches us to push, force, and struggle against life's challenges, yet nature shows us a different way. Like water flowing around rocks in a stream, silence enables us to move past obstacles with grace and ease. When we stop fighting against what is, we discover that many of our perceived barriers are simply constructs of our busy minds. The noise of constant thinking, planning, and worrying creates friction that makes everything feel more difficult than it needs to be. In contrast, silence creates a smooth surface where life can flow naturally. Consider how a tense muscle releases when you stop trying to force it to relax. The same principle applies to all forms of resistance in our lives. Whether we're facing career challenges, relationship difficulties, or personal obstacles, our instinct is often to push harder or fight against them. Yet in silence, we discover that letting go of the struggle itself is what allows transformation to occur. This doesn't mean becoming passive or giving up on our goals. Instead, it's about finding a different way to approach our challenges. When we quiet our minds and release our grip on how things should be, we often discover solutions we couldn't see before. The path of least resistance reveals itself naturally when we stop creating mental turbulence. Silence helps us recognize when we're working against ourselves. In quietness, we can feel where we're holding tension, where we're forcing things, and where we're creating unnecessary obstacles. This awareness alone begins to dissolve resistance. Like ice melting in warm water, our rigid patterns and beliefs soften in the presence of silent attention. The practice of dissolving resistance through silence requires patience and trust. We must be willing to sit with uncertainty and discomfort without immediately trying to fix or change it. As we develop this capacity, we begin to notice how life has its own intelligence and timing. What seemed impossible often resolves itself when we stop interfering with the natural flow. Our relationships particularly benefit from this approach. When we meet conflict with silence rather than immediate reaction, we create space for understanding to emerge. The same arguments that once spiraled into chaos can transform into opportunities for deeper connection when we learn to pause and listen deeply. This principle extends to our creative endeavors as well. Writers, artists, and innovators often discover that their best ideas come not from forcing inspiration, but from allowing silence to reveal what wants to emerge. The creative process flows more easily when we learn to get out of our own way. Even physical healing follows this pattern. Medical research has shown that stress and resistance can impede the body's natural healing processes. When we embrace silence and release resistance, we support our body's innate wisdom and capacity for renewal. The practice of dissolving resistance through silence becomes particularly powerful when combined with conscious breathing. Each breath becomes an opportunity to release what we're holding on to and open to what wants to naturally unfold. This simple practice can transform how we move through our daily challenges. As we deepen our relationship with silence, we begin to trust more in the natural unfolding of life. We see how forcing and struggling often create the very obstacles we're trying to overcome. In contrast, when we allow silence to dissolve our resistance, everything begins to flow more effortlessly. This shift from resistance to flow isn't just about making life easier. It's about aligning with the natural way of things. Just as water always finds its path, life has a way of moving toward harmony when we stop creating interference through our mental noise and resistance. In silence, we discover that what we've been seeking often comes to us naturally when we simply get out of our own way. The magnetic quality of silence. In the depths of silence lies a magnetic force so powerful it can attract everything you desire without uttering a single word. This profound truth has been understood by mystics, sages, and successful individuals throughout history. When we cultivate inner silence, we naturally align ourselves with the universe's creative forces, becoming a magnet for opportunities, relationships, and experiences that serve our highest good. Silence possesses an attractive quality that words cannot match. Think of how you're naturally drawn to people who emanate a sense of calm and inner peace. Their presence speaks volumes without saying anything at all. This magnetic quality of silence works on multiple levels, affecting not just our relationships but every aspect of our lives. When we learn to harness this power, we tap into universal laws that govern creation and manifestation. The law of attraction operates most effectively in stillness. While many focus on positive thinking and affirmations, the real power lies in the quiet spaces between thoughts. In silence, we create a clear channel for our desires to manifest. Our mental and emotional static often interferes with this natural process. By cultivating silence, we remove the resistance that blocks our manifestations and allow our desires to flow to us effortlessly. Consider how nature operates in silence. A flower doesn't make noise to bloom. It simply opens itself to the sun and rain. Trees don't shout to grow taller. They silently reach toward the sky. The most powerful forces in the universe work in absolute silence: gravity, electromagnetic fields, and the energy that holds atoms together. Similarly, our own magnetic power strengthens when we learn to operate from this place of quiet certainty. The quality of our silence directly affects what we attract into our lives. Anxious, cluttered silence, filled with worried thoughts, attracts more chaos and confusion. But pure, peaceful silence creates a magnetic field that draws in clarity, opportunities, and solutions. This is why meditation practitioners often report experiencing coincidences and synchronicities. They've created the internal conditions for attraction through their practice of silence. When we're constantly talking, planning, and doing, we create interference in our energy field. It's like trying to listen to a radio station with static. The signal can't come through clearly. But when we cultivate silence, we tune our internal receiver to the perfect frequency. Ideas, inspiration, and opportunities can then find their way to us without effort. This magnetic quality of silence also affects our relationships. People are naturally drawn to those who have mastered the art of being still. There's something compelling about someone who doesn't feel the need to fill every moment with words. They exude a quiet confidence that attracts others more powerfully than any carefully crafted speech could achieve. The practice of magnetic silence isn't about becoming completely mute or withdrawing from the world. Instead, it's about creating spaces of stillness within our daily lives where attraction can operate freely. This might mean taking regular meditation breaks, spending time in nature, or simply pausing before speaking to ensure our words come from a place of clarity rather than reaction. To enhance your magnetic silence, start by observing the quality of your quiet moments. Are they truly silent, or are they filled with mental chatter? Practice letting go of the need to fill every moment with noise or activity. Trust that in your silence, you're actually doing powerful work. You're creating a magnetic field that attracts your desires naturally and effortlessly. The universe speaks in whispers, not shouts. The more you align yourself with this gentle power through silence, the the more you'll notice things flowing to you with surprising ease. Your relationships will deepen, opportunities will appear at the perfect time, and solutions will emerge naturally. This is the true power of magnetic silence. It allows life to unfold in perfect harmony with your deepest desires. The art of receiving. In the gentle embrace of silence lies the profound art of receiving. Like an empty vessel ready to be filled, silence creates the perfect conditions for abundance to flow into our lives. When we cease the constant chatter of wanting, needing, and demanding, we naturally align ourselves with the universe's rhythm of giving and receiving. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that achievement comes through forceful action, constant striving, and relentless pursuit. We push, we grasp, and we chase after our desires, creating resistance in the very process of trying to attain them. Yet nature shows us a different way. Consider how a flower blooms. It doesn't strain or struggle. It simply opens itself to receive the sunlight and rain. This natural process of receiving is what we must learn to embody. The art of receiving begins with creating space within ourselves. This space emerges when we release our tight grip on expectations and outcomes. In silence, we learn to let go of the need to control every aspect of our lives. We begin to trust that what we need will come to us at the perfect time and in the perfect way. This trust is not passive. It's a dynamic state of receptive awareness. Our society often emphasizes giving over receiving, leading many to feel uncomfortable or unworthy when it comes to accepting abundance. Yet receiving is as natural and necessary as breathing in after breathing out. In silence, we can examine and release the limiting beliefs that block our ability to receive. These might include thoughts like, "I don't deserve this," or "I must work harder to earn good things." As these thoughts dissolve in the quiet, our natural capacity to receive expands. The practice of receptivity requires us to develop a new relationship with time. Instead of rushing to make things happen, we learn to wait in alert stillness. This waiting is not about passive resignation, but about maintaining an open, expectant state. Like a hunter who knows that movement often scares away the prey, we understand that excessive action can sometimes push away the very things we seek to attract. In the silence, we become attuned to the subtle ways the universe communicates with us. Opportunities, insights, and resources often appear when we're not actively searching for them. This is because silence creates a magnetic field that naturally draws to us what we need. It's similar to how a quiet pond reflects the sky perfectly, while a disturbed surface creates only broken images. The art of receiving also involves developing discernment. Not everything that comes our way is meant for us, and silence helps us distinguish between true abundance and mere distraction. In the quiet, we can feel what resonates with our authentic path and what doesn't. This natural filtering system helps ensure that what we receive truly serves our highest good. Practicing receptivity in silence teaches us about timing. Sometimes what we desire isn't coming to us not because we're unworthy or doing something wrong, but simply because the timing isn't right. Silence helps us develop patience and trust in divine timing. Just as a fruit ripens in its own time, our desires manifest when conditions are optimal. The practice of receiving in silence extends beyond material abundance. It opens us to receiving love, wisdom, guidance, and healing. When we sit in silence, we become available to receive insights from our higher self and the universal consciousness. These gifts often come as gentle whispers, subtle feelings, or sudden knowing, all of which are more easily perceived in the quiet. As we deepen our practice of receiving through silence, we begin to experience life as a continuous flow of abundance. We realize that the universe is constantly giving, and our role is simply to remain open and receptive. This shift from struggling to receive to allowing ourselves to receive transforms not only our external circumstances, but also our inner state of being. In silence, we discover that true abundance isn't something we need to chase. It's our natural state when we learn to be still and receive. Finding clarity. In our journey through life, we often encounter moments when the path ahead seems shrouded in confusion. Decisions pile up, options multiply, and the noise of competing choices can become overwhelming. It is precisely in these moments that silence becomes our most trusted guide, offering a clarity that logic alone cannot provide. When we face important decisions, our natural inclination is to seek more information, gather more opinions, and analyze every possible outcome. While research and careful consideration have their place, true clarity often emerges not from adding more to our mental load, but from creating space through silence. In the quiet moments, our minds naturally sort through the complexity, allowing the essential to rise to the surface while the peripheral concerns fade away. The practice of finding clarity through silence begins with a willingness to step back from the mental chaos. Instead of immediately jumping into problem-solving mode, take time to sit with the question or challenge at hand. Allow yourself to experience the discomfort of not knowing without rushing to fill that space with premature answers. This patient approach might seem counterintuitive in our fast-paced world, but it creates the conditions for genuine insight to emerge. Consider how nature operates in silence. A seed doesn't make noise as it grows into a tree. It simply follows its innate wisdom. Similarly, our deepest knowing often speaks to us in the language of silence. When we quiet our minds, we can better access this inherent wisdom that exists beyond our conscious thinking. This is where true clarity resides, not in the endless chatter of our thoughts, but in the spaces between them. The practice of silent clarity involves developing a relationship with your inner compass. This internal guidance system operates most effectively when given the space to function without interference. Think of it as tuning into a radio station. When there's too much static, mental noise, the signal becomes unclear. But in silence, the reception improves, and the message comes through with crystal clarity. Decision-making through stillness doesn't mean completely abandoning rational thought. Instead, it means allowing silence to create a foundation from which clearer thinking can emerge. When faced with a decision, begin by sitting in silence for a few minutes. Let your breathing slow down and allow your mind to settle. From this place of calm, observe how you feel about different options without immediately judging or analyzing them. Often, you'll notice that certain choices naturally feel more aligned than others. This approach to finding clarity also helps us distinguish between fear-based thinking and genuine intuition. In silence, we can more easily recognize when our decisions are being driven by anxiety or external pressures rather than our authentic knowing. The quiet space allows us to separate our true voice from the many voices we've internalized from others. Higher wisdom becomes accessible when we create the conditions for it to emerge. Just as a lake must be still to reflect the sky clearly, our minds must be quiet to reflect deeper truth. This doesn't mean we'll always receive immediate answers, but rather that we'll develop the ability to recognize truth when it appears. Sometimes clarity comes as a subtle knowing, other times as a sudden insight, but it always speaks more clearly through silence than through noise. The practice of finding clarity through silence can be integrated into daily life. Before important meetings, take a few moments of silence to center yourself. When reading emails or messages that trigger strong emotions, pause in silence before responding. When feeling overwhelmed by options, step away from the noise and allow silence to guide you. These small moments of quiet reflection can prevent reactive decisions and foster choices that align with your deeper wisdom. Clarity doesn't always mean having all the answers. Sometimes it means being clear about what you don't know or being at peace with uncertainty. Silence helps us develop this more nuanced relationship with clarity, where we can remain open to guidance while trusting in the unfolding of events. In the end, the clearest path forward often reveals itself not through force or struggle, but through the gentle guidance of silence. Coming home to silence. There is a profound truth that many of us discover after years of searching externally. Everything we seek already exists within the quiet sanctuary of our own being. Coming home to silence isn't about reaching a destination. It's about remembering who we truly are beneath the noise and chaos of daily life. It's a return to our natural state of peace, wisdom, and unlimited potential. Living from a place of inner silence doesn't mean withdrawing from the world or maintaining constant quiet. Rather, it means carrying that core of stillness with you as you move through life's activities. Think of it as having an anchor of peace that stays steady even when storms rage on the surface. This inner silence becomes your foundation, your true home base from which you can engage with life more fully and authentically. The integration of silence into daily life happens gradually, like gentle waves slowly smoothing rough stones on a beach. You might begin by creating small pockets of silence throughout your day, a few conscious breaths before starting your car, a moment of stillness before responding to an email, or a quiet pause before entering your home after work. These micro moments of silence serve as doorways back to your center, helping you maintain connection with your inner sanctuary, regardless of external circumstances. As you deepen your relationship with silence, you'll notice that it begins to naturally infuse your interactions and activities. Conversations become more meaningful as you speak from a place of inner quiet rather than reactive mental chatter. Decision-making becomes clearer as you learn to pause and listen to the wisdom that emerges from stillness. Even challenges begin to feel different as you approach them from a foundation of inner peace rather than anxiety or resistance. The beauty of coming home to silence lies in its simplicity. You don't need special equipment, expensive retreats, or complex techniques. Your breath becomes your gateway, your body becomes your temple, and every moment offers an opportunity to return to this sacred space within. Whether you're washing dishes, walking to work, or sitting in a meeting, silence is always available as your constant companion and guide. This inner silence also has a profound effect on your environment and relationships. Like a still lake naturally reflects the sky above, your inner quietude begins to mirror itself in your external world. You may notice that people respond differently to your presence. Vast solutions appear more readily, and that life seems to flow with greater ease. This isn't magical thinking. It's the natural result of operating from a place of aligned conscious awareness rather than scattered energy and noise. Living from silence doesn't mean you'll never experience difficulties or emotional turbulence. Instead, it provides a stable foundation from which to navigate life's challenges. When waves of emotion or struggle arise, your connection to inner silence serves as a lighthouse, guiding you back to shore. This inner anchoring allows you to remain centered even while fully experiencing and moving through life's full spectrum of experiences. The practice of coming home to silence is both a moment-to-moment choice and a lifelong journey. Each return to stillness strengthens your connection to this inner sanctuary. Each breath can be an invitation to remember your true nature. Each challenge becomes an opportunity to deepen your relationship with silence. Through this ongoing practice, you discover that everything you've been seeking, peace, wisdom, love, fulfillment, naturally emerges from this quiet space within. As you embark on this journey of living from silence, remember that it's not about perfection or achieving a particular state. It's about gradually allowing more space for silence to permeate your being and your life. Like water finding its natural course, silence will flow into every aspect of your existence if you simply create the space for it to do so. This is the art of coming home to silence, not as a destination to reach, but as a natural way of being that transforms everything it touches.